All right, and joining us on the show now is BJP leader Smriti Irani. Thank you very much, ma'am, for speaking to us. Very interesting times that we live in.
And very interesting demeanor with which I come to the buck stops here. I look like Gen Z ki ma right now, but my apologies. I'm on a break from work. That's how I can sneak in an interview.
Very, very stern. I think that's your demeanor for Gen Z. But as a mother yourself, what are your reflections on what Gen Z wants after all of these events that we've seen?
So I have kids who fit that age category. I think it's very essential to in some way bifurcate or segregate certain realities. What we saw at Jantar Mantar was an assimilation of various political groups that were positioning themselves as new political pressure groups. There was the ultra-left, the left liberals, and the Aam Aadmi Party. So to presume that the congregation at Jantar Mantar was an assimilation of the regular Gen Z, firstly, is to belie certain facts which were staring at us in the face. That being said, if you look at the population size that is termed Gen Z today, most of them are either winning medals for the country, serving the country in the armed forces, serving the country in certain state police forces, serving as doctors, as engineers, as teachers. Hence, to presume that everybody who congregated at Jantar Mantar is a reflection of an entire generation would be to not only lie to yourself, but also show great disrespect to such citizens. My belief is what you saw at Jantar Mantar, and I'm saying this in my individual capacity, is a complete playbook of a political scientist who's known as the Machiavelli of such activism, Gene Sharp. So if somebody actually did a cross-reference of what you saw at Jantar Mantar and what you saw this gentleman who had authored many such prescriptions, you will find many similarities. So I think the greatest advantage of this conversation, Padmaja, has to be one has to denote what that congregation at Jantar Mantar was, an assimilation of SFI, ISA, Aam Aadmi Party, and a few who were part of the India Alliance and wanted to possibly get away from the Congress Party tutelage.
And what was the end game of this playbook?
I think the playbook was pretty certain and very obvious. And I think Mr. Vanchuk also spoke about how their desire was an engagement with the leader of opposition. The fact that the leader of opposition himself did not want to go to Jantar Mantar, wanted to do his own protest, wanted a particular photo shot as to how aggrieved he is. In hindsight and under pure public pressure, now is trying to give a message to those students who have come together in Jharkhand. Those who are at the crossroads of media and politics and have studied strategies or have seen strategies at play, they can see transparently what is at play.
Because when this gets out, I can predict that everyone who has been a part of that protest is going to say this is typical WhatsApp conspiracy theories. Always throw in some kind of...
Gene Harper is not a conspiracy. It's a full-blooded human being who is known as a political scientist and author. So their strategy that this particular author or this particular political scientist has opined on is available for anybody to research.
No, to say that,
So I'm not doing whataboutery. I'm just saying that first, you cannot deny that there were certain political groups that had congregated there. The evidence is for everybody to see. Second, you cannot deny that Aam Aadmi Party and other such political representatives who had come together to form the so-called India Alliance were very much there. You cannot deny the fact that there is video evidence, which has not been manufactured, but put forth by those people who had congregated at Jantar Mantar, including the media that was, telecasting live scenes from that particular area where people who had congregated with a background of such political or students' organizations were giving call-outs against the Indian Armed Forces. There were people, again, video evidence, who were beating uniformed personnel. So this is not a whataboutery. This is hard factual, I think, well-evidenced instances, which one can always go and fact-check oneself.
But weren't there genuine students there? Weren't there genuine student grievances?
I think that to say that there has to be no distinction between students' genuine grievances and those who are a part of political leagues or association is again to do injustice to me. I did not deny that the students who voiced a particular opinion or a grievance did not have the right to do so. I do not deny the reality of it. I'm just saying that for you to think that that congregation in Jantar Mantar itself is an umbrella representative of everybody who falls in the age bracket of Gen Z first is unjust. Secondly, one does not deny that students' grievances with regards to that particular matter were genuine and genuinely addressed by the Prime Minister, but do not take away from the politics that transpired there.
Isn't there a disconnect, and a very palpable disconnect, which is why the Prime Minister had to step up, Mohan Bhagwat had to step up, and he even said in his interaction that the government should have reached out sooner. It is not okay to brand people who speak up when Gen Z asks questions, then to brand them anti-nationals is counterproductive.
Firstly, I'm not the official spokesperson of the RSS, and I never opine on the Sarsanga Chalak. As Swayamsevaks, we don't tend to do so. But I'm of the opinion that if you speak about the government as such, the Prime Minister was extremely responsive, and those who came together, the nation over, had a desire for a dialogue with the Prime Minister. And suffice to say that the Prime Minister did respond very productively. Not only did he respond to cries for engagement, but he also, by scheduling a task force, by ensuring that the bill in both houses of parliament passed with alacrity, has fulfilled what was desired by the students of the Prime Minister's office. That being said, Padmaja, you also have to be mindful of the fact that students got together in places like Mumbai, in places like Pune, and there was no untoward violent incident where police personnel were being beaten up by these students. They were genuine students who came together. So if you look at the differentiated positions taken by individuals, both at Jantar Mantar, let's say, and those who congregated in Pune, huge difference in the behavior and the culture of the protest. Today also, when I see visuals on your channel from Jharkhand, students who've congregated there have said, please do not give Azadi ke naare from our stages. Please do not abuse armed force or paramilitary personnel. So wherever genuine students had congregated minus any political intervention, you did have them congregate very productively, voice their opinion, and receive a reciprocal engagement from the government.
Because, this binary is being brought up again and again. You had Saurav Das of the CJP reacting to this. And I want to just quote what he said. He's basically saying that this is a trap, to try and pit one section of Gen Z against the other. This is a typical playbook of the BJP and the RSS.
How is it a playbook? Like I said,
that they're trying to divide, saying that Gen Z Delhi versus Gen Z Ranchi.
No, I think that if you ask me as an Indian citizen, my opinion on how citizens congregated in Pune, how citizens who are young are congregating in Jharkhand, it is my right to show that opinion, to express that opinion, and applaud the conduct of the students of Jharkhand. Why should not I applaud the conduct of the students that congregated in Pune, who were respectful of their country, who were respectful of their flag, who were respectful of uniformed personnel? Why would you take away the respect that I express for fellow citizens and young citizens?
Because
why is my opinion only to matter if I compliment a particular subsection?
Because
and not the other.
The insinuation seems to be that those at Jantar Mantar are being demonized while comparing them to what's happening at Ranchi.
There is no insinuation. Those at Jantar Mantar did beat up police personnel. Those at Jantar Mantar did give naras for Azadi. Those at Jantar Mantar did abuse institutions of India, including the judiciary.
But that's
anybody who presumes that you can insult and instigate abuse against the judiciary, against the armed forces of our country, and find favor with the citizens of India, I think has not understood the citizens of India. Padmaja, 64 crore Indians went to vote in the last general election. It does not matter, and I've said this before, it does not matter who we vote for. 64 crore people turned up to vote means they believe in our institutions. We may have voted for different parties. We may have promoted different ideologies, but we all collectively believe in the institution of law. We all collectively take pride in our armed forces. We all collectively take pride in our democratic process.
Because
Ask those 64 crore people. Will they stand for abuse of the judiciary? I am not saying we live in a utopian era.
because
I'm saying, yes.
whenever this issue of abuse, and it has gained a lot of traction, triggered a lot of debate. So when I speak to the younger people, they say, why is there so much focus on the language we use? Our issues are not being addressed. This is frustration.
If you are hit, I have spoken.
And a sanskari mold is being thrust on us.
No,
Ki
it's not about
fall in line.
Sanskari. I think the sanskar debate has not happened with me. I don't think that the outrage is about who is giving what gali amongst friends, amongst youngsters. I think it's about abusing the institution. If you're referring to the Prime Minister, though he has publicly stated that he wants a productive engagement with the youth and wants the youth to go ahead, I think what is the larger conversation and context which is being missed, and maybe the convoluted version is being presented, is that you cannot abuse the Indian Armed Forces. You cannot give calls for azadi. And you cannot hide that particular position of yours by saying, "Arey, humne gali di to kya hua?" When you abuse the Prime Minister of the country, that's not an individual. That is an institution that 64 crore Indians believe in because they come out to vote. So though the Prime Minister as an individual has forgiven, as an institution has directed that no penal action is to be taken, for us Indians, that is an institution, that is not an individual.
All the main organizations now, including the RSS, the left, Congress, everyone individually is now carrying out various forms of engagement with the youth. The CJP also has started a listening tour across the country. Fundamentally, as an organization and as a party, does the BJP and the RSS find itself at odds with what the youth stand for? Liberation, revolution, liberal.
You know what is fascinating? I'm 6 years or 7 years younger than the Gandhi siblings. And I'm 4 years older than my national president. We have the youngest national president of the largest political organization on planet Earth. Do you think there's a disconnect?
Ideological disconnect? Because you're seen as
Also,
a more
if I say my ideology is nation first,
more traditional party, standing for traditional values.
What is traditional values? Respecting your country is a traditional value? Will others who are young in this country disavow themselves from this value? Respecting the rule of law is a traditional value? Respecting your flag is a traditional value? What, according to you, is the traditional value that we hold that the young of this country will not in some way conform to or appreciate or see reason in?
Because I was listening to Abhijit Dipke just a while ago, and he said that देखिए अभी जो 70-75 साल के जो नेता हो गए हैं उनको अब संन्यास ले लेना चाहिए, अब नई जनरेशन को कमान सौंप दीजिए.
I think there are 2-3 issues that the youth in this country have always expounded. One is don't be misogynistic. Second is don't be an ageist. Third is be transparent. So what is the traditional value system? Is a traditional value system that every citizen deserves respect irrespective of their age? Is the traditional value system that every individual irrespective of the region, religion, caste deserves or gender deserves respect? Yes. Is the traditional value system says that no matter what challenges we have within our executive, within our bureaucracy, within our judiciary, respected. Those are our institutions. So I would not comment on one person's presumption about our system. I would say as a citizen, there's 64 crore of us who may not be on the streets shouting and abusing institutions, but we believe in them.
No, it's fine to respect institutions and even respect somebody's age, but does a young India deserve a young leader?
So you have Nitin Naveen.
A young prime minister, they say? आप 40 साल का प्रधानमंत्री होना चाहिए.
Are you telling me now that we will now gatekeep the Prime Minister's position. We will say that we are misogynistic, we are ageists, we are castists, we are biased on religion. What is the next gatekeeping? And that is democracy. That I will deny everybody the right, and I shall be the only one who pontificates.
Why did the Prime Minister have to step in and, try and
When
engage
is the Prime
with the
Minister
youth
ever not
in their grammar?
No, but when is the Prime Minister? Is he available on Instagram for the first time? That one video that he sent out? No, he's been more than active on all social media platforms.
No, but he's never done GRWM reels before. I mean, now he's
Doesn't
doing
matter.
Get Ready With Me.
But doesn't matter. Why? Why would you deny him that right?
No, but was
I'm
there an
astounded.
understanding that
No.
the youth is not connecting otherwise?
You are presuming a mind of a prime minister and asking me to opine on his personal state of mind. My issue is that if a prime minister is responsive, and responsibly so, why are we astounded by it? Why would we take a position of reflecting on it? I would rather have a prime minister that responds to people. I would rather have a prime minister that wants to engage with people.
You've spoken about the tragic beauty of being a mother. If I may, what did your Gen Z at home think about this entire
I won't talk about my own family here for personal reasons. But let me say this. My family, as many that I know, and I've had uniform personnel serve in my family, both branches, maternal and paternal. So for us, it is not a very nice sight to see uniform personnel get beaten. So irrespective of the gender or the generation, my family will always stand for respect of the flag, the constitution, and men and women in uniform.
As a young politician, what would Smriti Irani say to Gen Z? Where do they go from here? It's been an
Gen Z knows
outpouring of
exactly
emotion.
where it's headed. Gen Z knows exactly where it's headed. You had a very young female pilot now, through her rigorous training and contribution, become the first ever female Top Gun. You have Gen Z serving right now at the border. I think what those young ones would rather have us do is not squabble, but productively engage ourselves through our economy, productively engage ourselves through social norms, change social norms where we feel that we are regressing, help each other so that we can build a more resilient country, innovate, educate. That is what those who wear the uniform, irrespective of their gender or generation, expect of us. It is incumbent upon us to make sure our democracy thrives, where all institutions are respected. It may get you some reach, it may give you some great followers to show that you're a part of a trend which may want to castigate somebody. But if you're truly a patriotic Indian, you will get the job on hand done, no matter what your job professionally today. Ultimately, if you're helping build an equitable society, then you're doing great justice to your democracy and your role in this democracy.
Finally, everyone is trying to get used to the Gen Z lingo. Even Mr. Mohan Bhagwat yesterday spoke of clock it. Any new Gen Z lingo or any new terminology, phraseology that you have adopted or have just been introduced to?
I, as an individual, have never been overwhelmed by changing political situations in the country. And I am of the genuine belief that the Gen Z that I address as a politician would want me to productively, genuinely work towards issues of if not education, then at least enterprise. So currently, if I have to pay tribute to the youth of my country, I have undertaken an attempt to go to 300 cities in this country and help 1 lakh women and small businesses. That's my contribution. That's my doffing my head off to the young ones so that their mothers are economically more resilient.
Thank you very much, Smriti Irani. As always, a pleasure.